There is one tiny compound, just 2 grams, that completely changes what coffee does to your body. Most people drink coffee every single morning and never get the fat loss they are hoping for. They feel the buzz, they feel the jitters, and then they crash hard before noon hits them. But what if the problem was never the coffee itself? What if it just needed help? What you are about to discover may completely change the way you look at your morning coffee. Welcome to Real Health Logic. Coffee does something remarkable inside your body that most people never fully take advantage of daily. It mobilizes fat, meaning it pulls stored fat out of your tissue and releases it into your bloodstream. That sounds incredible, and it is. But here is the problem that nobody talks about openly enough. Releasing fat and actually burning fat are 2 completely different things happening inside your body simultaneously. Just because fat enters your bloodstream does not mean your body will use it efficiently for energy. This is exactly where 2 grams of carnitine steps in and changes everything about your morning completely. Carnitine is a naturally occurring compound that your body produces, but most people are chronically low in it. Its one job is powerful. It transports fatty acids directly into the mitochondria where fat actually gets burned. Think of caffeine as the compound that opens the door and carnitine as the one that walks through it. Without carnitine, mobilized fat can just float around in your bloodstream without ever becoming usable energy for you. A study published in the Journal of Nutritional Science and Vitaminology compared 3 separate groups of athletes carefully. One group took caffeine alone, one group took carnitine alone, and the third group combined both together. Carnitine alone outperformed caffeine alone when it came to endurance and markers of fat oxidation during exercise. But the combination of both together produced the strongest effect across every single measurement they tracked in that study. Greater fat oxidation, better glycogen sparing, and improved endurance all showed up when these 2 were paired together. Here is something most people do not know. One single workout can deplete up to 80% of your carnitine. So by morning, most people are already running on nearly empty carnitine stores without even realizing it at all. Adding 2 grams alongside your coffee is not extreme. It is simply replacing what your body already lost yesterday. And when carnitine is restored and paired with caffeine, fat loss stops being a struggle and becomes almost automatic. Now, burning fat efficiently is one thing, but what about the way coffee actually makes you feel inside? Because if you have ever felt anxious, scattered, or wired after coffee, that feeling is working directly against fat loss. Here is the biology behind that uncomfortable feeling that so many coffee drinkers experience on a regular basis. Caffeine works by blocking adenosine receptors in your brain, which is what creates that surge of alertness you feel. But blocking those receptors also raises your heart rate, increases blood pressure, and fires up your entire nervous system aggressively. That cascade of stimulation is exactly what produces jitters, racing thoughts, anxiety, and that unfocused, scattered energy you hate. And when your body is in that stressed, chaotic state, burning fat efficiently becomes incredibly difficult for your system. This is where L-theanine quietly becomes one of the most underrated additions to your morning coffee routine ever. L-theanine is a naturally occurring amino acid found in green tea, and it does something remarkably precise in your brain. It calms excessive neural firing without making you sleepy, without dulling your focus, and without blunting caffeine's core benefits. A study in nutritional neuroscience gave one group 50 milligrams of caffeine and another group caffeine plus 100 milligrams of theanine. The combination group showed faster and more accurate performance on attention tasks compared to the caffeine-only group tested. They also showed a significantly reduced tendency toward distraction, meaning their focus was sharper and far more directed overall. Think of caffeine as turning up the volume on a speaker until the sound becomes distorted and uncomfortable to hear. L-theanine does not turn that volume down, it simply removes all the distortion so the sound becomes perfectly clear. That calm, directed stimulation matters more than people realize because a relaxed nervous system is far better at burning fat. When you are not in a stress response, your body shifts its energy systems toward fat oxidation more effectively and efficiently. So theanine is not just making you feel better, it is literally creating better internal conditions for fat loss to happen. Now let us talk about the liquid you can add directly to your coffee that changes brain fuel entirely. Mict oil, which stands for medium-chain triglycerides, is one of the most misunderstood and underused coffee additions available today. Most dietary fats take a long, complex journey through your lymphatic system before they ever reach your bloodstream for use. MCTs completely skip that entire process and travel directly to your liver where they are converted into energy almost immediately. A study in the Journal of Lipid Research confirmed that medium-chain fatty acids are metabolized dramatically faster than long-chain fats. And because they are processed so rapidly, your liver converts them into ketones, which are an incredibly clean fuel source. Ketones are particularly powerful for the brain, which explains why so many people report unusual mental clarity with Mict coffee. But here is where it gets even more interesting from a fat loss and longevity perspective that most people overlook completely. A study in the International Journal of Obesity compared groups eating Mict-rich diets versus long-chain fat diets for 1 month. The Mict group showed higher energy expenditure and greater fat oxidation without any changes to their total daily calorie intake. Just switching the type of fat increased how much energy their bodies burned throughout the entire day automatically without effort. When MCTs are paired with caffeine, which already signals your body to release fat, something powerful starts happening inside you. Caffeine gives the signal to burn fat, and MCTs provide immediately available fuel so your body actually follows through completely. And if you are fasted in the morning, the ketone production from Mict oil can actively drive autophagy inside your cells. Autophagy is your body's cellular cleaning process, where damaged and dysfunctional components get broken down and recycled for fresh energy. This is one of the most sought-after benefits of intermittent fasting, and Mict oil helps you access it faster daily. 1 to 2 tablespoons in your morning coffee is genuinely all it takes to unlock this entire cascade of benefits. Now let us address something that coffee does that almost nobody warns you about when you first start drinking it regularly. After you consume caffeine, there is a temporary reduction in your insulin sensitivity that happens in the short term afterward. This means your cells become slightly less responsive to insulin right after drinking coffee, which can affect how your body stores energy. For most healthy people, this is minor, but if fat loss or blood sugar management matters to you, it is worth addressing. This is exactly where cinnamon becomes a surprisingly powerful and completely underrated addition to your morning coffee ritual each day. Cinnamon contains active compounds, particularly one called trans-cinnamaldehyde, that have a measurable effect on how your cells respond to insulin. A randomized controlled trial published in Clinical Nutrition studied people with type 2 diabetes given 500 milligrams of cinnamon twice daily. Over 3 months, they saw improvements in insulin resistance, fasting insulin, HbA1c levels, body fat percentage, and even visceral fat specifically. Cinnamon did not just nudge blood sugar numbers slightly. It improved broad metabolic and body composition markers across the entire study group. A separate study in Food and Function showed that cinnamon's compounds reduce inflammatory signaling directly inside immune cells throughout the body. Coffee and tea already lower oxidative stress on their own, but cinnamon adds an additional protective layer on top of that. So instead of caffeine temporarily working against your insulin sensitivity, cinnamon actively protects the very system that governs how fat gets stored. That protection means fat loss can happen without the metabolic interference that caffeine occasionally introduces into your morning biology unintentionally. Half a teaspoon stirred into your coffee is genuinely enough to activate these effects and start protecting your metabolic environment daily. Now let us talk about the part of your coffee routine that most people get completely wrong without ever realizing it. How you sweeten your coffee can quietly undo every single benefit that all the other additions are working hard to create. Refined sugar gives you a dopamine hit and a blood sugar spike, and after that, it gives you absolutely nothing beneficial. No protective compounds, no antioxidants, no metabolic benefit whatsoever, just a sharp rise followed by an inevitable crash that drains you. But Manuka honey is genuinely different, and understanding why requires looking past the sugar content at what else comes packaged with it. Manuka honey contains phenolic compounds and flavonoids that interact directly with the other compounds already present inside your coffee synergistically. A study published in Nutrients examining honey's effects on metabolic health found something that genuinely surprised researchers looking at the data. Honey-enhanced insulin sensitivity helps stabilize blood glucose levels and reduce oxidative stress, even though it technically raises blood sugar momentarily. The antioxidant compounds inside Manuka honey essentially soften the blood sugar response so your body handles the carbohydrates far more gracefully. Your body gets a sweet compound that satisfies that craving while simultaneously receiving protective molecules that support your metabolic health deeply. This is metabolically completely different from refined sugar, even though both technically contain natural sugars at their most basic chemical level. And when paired with cinnamon, MCTs, and caffeine, Manuka honey becomes part of a system rather than a contradiction inside it. Now let us bring all of this together so you can actually apply it in a way that fits your real life. Carnitine, 2 grams, is your foundation if fat loss and endurance are your primary goals each and every morning consistently. L-theanine, somewhere between 200 and 400 milligrams, is your tool when caffeine feels too sharp or too chaotic. If you ever feel anxious after coffee, take theanine right alongside it and watch how quickly that scattered feeling completely dissolves. Mixed oil, 1 to 2 tablespoons, belongs in your morning if you want mental energy, ketones, and autophagy support while fasted. Cinnamon, half a teaspoon, is your daily shield against the insulin sensitivity dip that caffeine temporarily creates inside your system. And Manuka honey is your sweetener of choice if you want to satisfy that need for sweetness without destroying your metabolic progress. You do not need all 5 every single morning. You choose based on what your body and your goals actually need today. The point is that coffee was never the problem, and it was never the complete solution either on its own alone. It has always been a powerful signal, and these 5 additions are what give that signal a real destination inside your body. Caffeine opens the door, carnitine walks through it, theanine keeps the path calm, MCTs light the way forward with clean fuel. Cinnamon protects the system, and honey makes the entire journey sustainable without quietly working against everything else you have carefully built together. 2 grams of carnitine alongside your morning coffee is where you start, and everything else builds intelligently and powerfully from there.